So for a really long time I've been wanting to replace the grips on this CZ Shadow 2 because although the grips that come with it, that black anodized really thin set of grips, is gorgeous and feels great, the minute you get even a little bit of sunshine on them, they're almost too hot to touch. And I wanted to try something that either looked a little different or felt a little different, or both if I could achieve that. So enter LOK Grips. I have a set of LOK Grips on a 1911 that I bought years ago that I really like, and I've always wanted to get more for different guns. So I reached out to the folks at LOK and I said, hey, you know, if I buy a couple sets of grips, could you help me out a little bit, or, you know, do you want to help out the channel? And they did. They stepped up and they provided 2 sets of grips for me. This set, which is this cool orange, which kind of goes with the Justin Opinion orange logo a little bit, and it also has the palm swell. I'll show some photos that really can better illustrate this palm swell, but it changes the feel of the gun almost completely, certainly dramatically. And they're almost like the old Smith & Wesson Coke bottle grips. And that's very much what they remind me of. Gives the gun a little fuller feel in the hand. It doesn't feel like you're holding, you know, a half-inch by 2-inch piece of wood or something. So I think it's quite an improvement. Although when I put on the next pair of LOK thin grips, I don't know, I might change my mind again. No matter how much sunshine they don't get too hot to touch, which I really like. And this checkering, just sort of a very standard style checkering, is incredibly grippy to the skin. And of course we have the matching mag release button. A nice touch. Makes one of the world's best guns just a little bit nicer. That target downrange is a mini ADAP, and it is provided by Tactical AR-500 Targets Incorporated. That is an AR-550, meaning you can shoot it with rifles, which is nice. It really does change the grip on this gun. This might be the best mod you could possibly do to a CZ Shadow 2. So there it is, CZ Shadow 2 with the LOK palm swell, orange grip, beautiful. And the optional accompanying magazine release button. I like this a lot. Not only do I love the look, but I love the feel. It truly changes the dynamics of shooting the gun. Can't wait now to try out the other pair of thin grips with a completely different texture. Stay tuned a moment for that. There we go, there's the end view of the LOK grips on the CZ Shadow 2, and these are the palm swell checkered. They are quite gorgeous and extremely comfortable. I absolutely love the feel of the checkering, and of course being G10, it just grabs a hold of your skin and doesn't let go. But I will tell you, as I told you at the range, but it just completely changes the feel of the CZ Shadow 2. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with the Coke bottle grips, so on the left is a set of reproduction Smith & Wesson Coke bottle grips. You see that bulge in the center for the palm swell, which is what they call the ones on the right from LOK. Very similar, in fact, maybe even a little bit more pronounced. But this was a very, very popular grip style back in the day with target competitors. And the reason was just the way it made it feel. It's just the way you hold the gun and the way it feels. So I really am digging these palm swell grips. And I like the orange too. What do you guys think? Okay, so after a trip to the range, I absolutely love these full checkered palm swell grips from LOK on the CZ Shadow 2. And I'm tempted to just not touch it ever again and leave it exactly like this. However, the folks at LOK did send me another set of grips as well, and these are the thin bogies, and they are in a nice black with a cherry red inlay, and so I'm going to have to install these too. So why don't I go ahead and do that? You can watch along and see. So here's what you get. You get the grips, and they have this nice inlay, which is going to be just a nice little sort of stripe along the back strap. It's for visual interest. And they have this great cherry red inlay on this nice black G10. And this has a much different type of grip than just checkering. And these are thin, so they don't have the palm swell. You can see how thin they are, like little razor blades. All right, so I also was given the matching cherry red magazine release, so I will put that on as well. They also supply the hardware. You get the screws and you get little O-rings, and the little O-rings are because, unlike the aluminum, the G10 could potentially crack or split if you were to over tighten a screw. So that'll keep them on good and snug without the danger of damaging them. Alright, so, and I'm just going to use a Fix-It Sticks. Which one is which? Alright. I know this isn't really how you use Fix-It Sticks, but this isn't a video about Fix-It Sticks. So, too bad. So you can see that the O-ring stayed on that screw, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and reuse that screw. I suppose I could take out the magazine. Alright, so there's one grip out. Flip it over. Just so you can see the difference, here's a panel of the thin, and here's a panel of the palm swell. You can see that difference there in the thickness. And they don't need to be real tight, just snug, just hand snug, especially with that rubber O-ring. Alright, now we'll go with the cherry red. And of course, if you did not know this, there are three little holes you can choose from. And that's also true of the stock magazine release button, but that allows you to cant it like up there or straight or down a little bit, and I kind of like it pretty much right in the middle. Alright, so there is the thin bogies with the cherry red inlay and cherry red accent stripes on the back, and that's a nice look too, isn't it? That's a nice look as well. So this kind of keeps a little bit more with the that stock look, you know, with that black aluminum grip had, but gives us some nice accent in there, and the much nicer feel of that G10. Wow, that feels incredible. This texture is just fantastic. This is even more grippy than the checkered. And now we're back to that feeling, that same feel that it had with the stock grips. So if you really like that stock feeling that the CZ Shadow 2 has with those thin aluminum grips, but you just want a different material, or you just want to style it a little bit, I would say these thin bogies are for you, because they feel exactly the same in the hand thickness wise. but they offer incredible traction for the skin. And of course, lots of ways you can style them. LOK has a lot of different options. I had a tough time choosing exactly what I wanted to do, but I thought this would be a nice look. And I don't think I was wrong. What do you guys think? What do you like better? Do you like the orange palm swells, or do you like the thin bogies? I will tell you, I think, as much as I still like this color a lot, I think I like the palm swell is from a practical standpoint, what it does to the gun. But I'm going to take it out and shoot it with this too, because I want to feel both of them in live fire. Alright, so now let's test these thin bogies out at the range. It is about 85 degrees and bright, strong sunshine today. I have laid this gun out on the table for about 10 minutes while I fiddled around with cameras and got ready and all that. Unlike the aluminum stock grips for the CZ, I can pick this gun up and hold it and not burn myself. That was my big complaint about the CZ Shadow 2. In fact, very likely it was the only thing I didn't like about the Shadow 2. So the nice thing about the G10 is that even in a black color like this, it is not absorbing and holding in all that heat like that metal, like that aluminum does, which was, quite frankly, unshootable in the summertime. So if you want the look of a black grip and you like the feel of the thin grip, like the stock grips, but you don't want that, but you don't want necessarily the pattern to be burned permanently into your hand, G10 is definitely the material, and these thin bogies from LOK are absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. So I talked about the palm swell, how much I really liked that. I felt like I'd really discovered a whole new gun. This feels much more like the standard stock Shadow 2. So if that is your preference, if you bought the Shadow 2 and said, hey, this is what I wanted, I don't want to change it with grips, well, these are the grips that don't change it, just make it feel nicer and don't pass on any heat. But really the true test of feeling anything is to shoot it. So that's what I'm going to do. It really digs into your skin. Wow. Yeah, this G10, boy, this pattern that LOK put on these G10s, on these bogies, it just plants itself right against your skin and it does not move. The other thing I wanted to mention too, and this is the same for the orange one that I had on, they're both checkered. This cherry red mag release button is also incredibly grippy. So if you get your thumb anywhere on there and push, it's going to function. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, I went and reloaded my magazines. I left this gun sitting out in the sun and it is still quite comfortable to pick up and hold. That for me right there is worth every bit of these new LOK grips. So when the good folks at LOK said they would help me out by providing a couple of sets of grips to the channel to evaluate, I have to say the hardest part of the process was deciding which. So many choices for the CZ Shadow 2, not to mention all of the other guns they make grips for, especially like the 1911. But for the CZ Shadow 2, there were like dozens of choices and almost endless combinations of inlays and colors and things like that. I did narrow it down to the two you see here, the thin bogey grips in this black with the cherry red inlay, and the palm swell checkered grips in the orange color with a black inlay. Well, they were both absolutely fantastic. I love the thin bogies. They feel very, very much like the original aluminum grips that CZ provides. but they provide a little different type of grip texture and I think a little bit more traction, and they maintain that same thin feel. If, however, you think you might want to try something besides that factory thin feel, then you can go with these palm swell. And maybe you can tell by the ones I left on the pistol that I prefer the palm swell. It's just something about it. I love the way it transforms the feel of the gun when I hold it. It really makes it much more comfortable to me, and I think I probably shoot the gun a little bit better with these palm swell grips. But I don't know, I may change my mind 6 months from now and go back to these thin grips, and it is great to have that choice. Talk about availability, where to buy them, and prices and things like that for a minute. Now, I can't put any links in the description because that's a no-no, but I can tell you that if you're a fairly clever person and you go to your internet browsing machine and you put in LOK Grips and push go, it's going to take you to their website. You can also find them on Amazon and many other online retailers. These thin bogey grips that you see here with this cherry red inlay retail for $125 for the set, and again that comes with the screws and the O-rings and whatever you'd need. The orange palm swell or the checkered palm swell in whatever color you choose costs $136.95. There's a little bit more material there, and I suspect there's a little bit more work involved in making them. These are both not just a nice alternative to the factory aluminum grips. In my opinion, they are far superior to the factory aluminum grips. I love the look of the grips the CZ provided, and I love the feel of them on the table like today. But you get these things out in any kind of sunlight, and they will just sear the skin right off your hands. These don't do that. So I talked about how the palm swell grips transform the feel of the gun, but way up here where the web of your hand is going to run, your thumb and your forefinger for shooting, what is the Justin Pinion grip index difference between these three grips? Well, the stock factory aluminum grips have a grip thickness, and that is, again, right about in here, have a thickness of 1.13 inches. And that is a Justin Pinion grip index of 3.42. The thin bogeys are very similar at 1.17 thickness with a Justin Pinion grip index of 3.54. And the palm swell checkered are the thickest, as you would imagine, even up in here above the swelled area at 1.28. That's adjusted opinion grip index of 3.87, and while I typically always like the smaller grip index, I prefer the feel of the palm swelled. Okay, so there is, I hope, a fairly comprehensive look at two excellent choices in grips for your CZ Shadow 2 from LOK. I like them both. I've kind of fallen in love with that palm swell, at least for the time being, but there are so many choices and so many styles and textures available, you really got to go check them out.